So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again,
Back up recorder too. It's like, create everything.
I noticed you didn't have it, but I thought.
We're live.
That's
More skill does, bag house, your things. Yeah. Dexter Joe had to play with our fun. Somebody's now in.
We recording. Okay. Same people ready. We're recording.
She's.
Same people.
Must have known somewhere in the night.
I cannot wait to.
Okay.
Yes, my birthday.
Oh, that's very important.
We're live because.
Okay, sorry. Tell you matters. I have a birthday.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call to order, the meeting to order. If it works for everybody. Am I on? Now I'm on. Now I'm going to call the meeting to order if it works for everyone. And move this away slightly. Okay, this is the Brewery District Commission for the Brewery District Historic District. We are, today is the 4th of November, right? Third, couldn't remember, of November. And we are in our downtown hearing. The next business meeting will be Thursday, November 17th at 12 p.m., also in the same room. And the next commission meeting will be Thursday, December 1st to celebrate the holiday season, also at 4 o'clock in this room. I'd like to swear in the staff. Connie, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Connie Torbeck.
Great. I'd like to introduce the commissioners present, if they would introduce themselves.
Commissioner Leisure.
Daniel Mather.
Patrice Allen Brady.
And I'm Cynthia Hunt. Nice to see you all again. Do we have any public comments, Connie?
I do have one thing that I forgot to put on the agenda, but then I'm going to read, and then we'll, Louis Table will follow up with another, issue at the end of the, at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Commissioners are invited to tour the Undesigned Red Line exhibit on the first floor of the Coleman Center. Undesigned Red Line is an interactive exhibit that explores how urban planning and development policies such as redlining, slum clearance, highway construction, and other design structural racism, let me start that again, and others design structural racism into American cities, Columbus included. The city of Columbus is sponsoring the exhibit so we may learn from our past and open a dialogue about how we may foster equitable growth through zoning in Columbus and historic effort to update Columbus's zoning code. The exhibit is open to the public on the first floor of the Coleman Center, which is this building, from November 10th to 18th. The exhibit will also be hosted at various community centers throughout December. And you can find more information at www.columbus.gov/zoning code update.
Thank you, ma'am. Any staff approvals?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
3.
Would you like to discuss any of them, or you're just
I don't have.
motion
anything.
to approve?
Motion
Any
to
commissioners have any
approve.
questions, or
If you reviewed them,
yes? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve staff approvals.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Pass. Thank you very much. Like to talk about the new application?
first we would, could we get a motion to
Oh,
approve
approve.
the October
The
6th?
minutes? Yes, thank you. So any feedback on the October minutes or any questions? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mather. Second?
I second.
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you for the reminder, Ms. Torben.
Sure.
Okay. So the first application is BD 22 11 004, which is 841 South Front Street. And there is a request for demolition, rehabilitation, new construction as an application on the record. Will the representatives please come forward?
Judge.
We don't need yours.
Yes.
Barely.
Bring it here.
Thank you.
I mean,
BYOC. Oh, baby. You can have the nice chair in. Think the one already warmed up.
I'll get the nice chip.
We have been hearing about this project for a while, with various requests by the commission. As part of the staff report, I've asked Connie to put on the record our history with this project, including the requests from the commission for additional information and what we've received.
Okay.
So if you could do that as a part of your report, Connie.
Sure.
on What's happening, I'd appreciate it very much.
okay, so again, this is the addresses associated with this application, 841 South Front Street, 841 to 843 South Front Street, and 66 to 68 West Whittier Street. And as, again, in regard to demolition, rehabilitation, and new construction. This discussion is in regard to site ingress, egress on South Front Street, and egress on Bank Street, and demolition of the existing two-story brick house at 835 South Front Street. An application for demolition, renovation, and new addition was conceptually reviewed at the August 5, 2021, March 3, April 7, July 7, and September 21, 2022 BDC hearings. A site visit was conducted with the applicants on Monday, October 3rd, including HPO staff and Department of Public Service staff, including Dan Blechman and Kevin Thomas. Two commissioners attended, Matt Leisure and Daniel Randall. Subsequently, the applicant provided revised materials to DPS for review. In a November 2nd email, Kevin Thomas, oops, I misspelled that, sorry, responded that DPS, quote, concurs with the design for a possible full access on South Front Street. In addition, DPS staff finds that inadequate information has been submitted for review to determine whether or not it would be, again, quote, infeasible to improve the access at Bank Street at the rear of the site. At previous hearings, consistent comments and concerns have been stated by commissioners in regard to demolition of the brick house before the possibility of Bank Street has been thoroughly vetted. And at the request of the chair, some of those include August 5, 2021. Commissioners consider all the buildings to be contributing. The house provides an important transition between the proposed project and the neighboring houses. Consider an alternative use for the house, such as tenant office, March 3, 2022. Thinks the proposed entrance on Front Street for cars is a challenge. Ideally, the vehicular traffic would come off the back. Could the building go up to 6 stories on the northwest corner? Could support a higher building if the historic house is retained. Need to really look at saving the brick house section of the brick section of the 2-story house. April 7, Front Street access is not ideal for the project of the neighborhood or for the neighborhood. Discuss with the city any improvements that will be needed or are proposed for Bank Street. Is there a possibility of entering one way in Front Street and exiting one way out on Bank Street? Recognize the challenge of the site. We need some resolution regarding access before committing to anything. We don't have a site plan that the Brewery District Commission, HPO staff, other city departments, and the applicant agree is a site plan to move forward with, so there is hesitation to move forward with demolition. Encourage a meeting with Department of Public Service to discuss all egress access points. Applicant should discuss with DPS the site plans that have been shown to the commission. The commission needs to have written comments from DPS on the proposed site plan. Asked if the back of the lot where the house is located could be widened to allow for access. Least preferred egress access option is on Front Street, from Front Street. And July 7, 2022. It's not clear yet that Bank Street will not be available for access. The email provided from DPS is not completely clear on that. That was the previous email. Access into the project from Front Street and out from Bank Street would be the best result. And commission is struggling with loss of the historic house.
So,
So recommendation.
Yes,
from
thank you.
staff is recommend to table the application until such time that Department of Public Service staff have received adequate information to review and comment on the feasibility to improve the access at Bank Street at the rear of the site. That's all.
would you all like to speak?
Sure, you can swear me in.
Oh, thank you for asking.
Well, I'm honest anyways.
I
I thought you might need to do it for the record.
No, we appreciate that, Raj. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you introduce yourselves, please, for the record?
Douglas Irvin, I'm with that Stonehenge Company.
Okay, great.
Andrew Gardner, I'm with V3 Companies.
Great.
Well, with respect to, it kind of reminds me, I think it was Chief Justice Warren's definition of pornography. I know it when I see it.
Can't wait for this.
Bank Street, to me, as far as a final design, is one of those things that everybody's gonna say, I know it when I see it. And the specificity of what is required in order for that determination. We did all the points that we could control that are within the right of way or on our property, and tried to demonstrate the difficulty with that to DPS. And I can let Andy speak to all of that. I'm an economist, he's an engineer, he understands a lot of these things better than I do, but there's a lot of interference. Those who were on site witnessed them. We got at least one driveway that's new that is all the way out in the right of way. One, the owner was smart and just put gravel for the final end, because I think he realized that to get the full slope of his driveway, he was going to encroach the Bank Street right of way. But there are some challenges, and I'll let Andy speak to those as to why, short of engineering on land we don't own or control, we're at this point. And I'll let Andy describe that better.
Yeah, I've looked at this street quite a bit. I've looked at the city of Columbus standards for alleyway construction. The challenge we have is in a couple things. The jog in that right of way that you see there, right just north of our parcel. So we meet it there. We have about a 15-foot
That's not the drawing.
space,
This is a sideline drawing.
but the right of way is shown. Those yellow
Okay,
lines
yeah,
are
okay, yeah.
so you can kind of see the jog. I actually felt it was a little clearer on the other.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But you see that jog in the right of way where the yellow lines jog, that's 15-foot wide. So to get through there per the alley construction, we wind up with a 13-foot pavement section. And I've looked at this quite a bit. If we were to approve this alley, we'd have to take it all the way up to the public street to the north. I can't read the name of that street.
Awesome.
Yes. So we'd have an 18-foot wide pavement section and then taper it down to a 15-foot wide and sort of try to snake it in that right of way. The problem is with the grade that exists there on both sides of that right of way, there's really no way to build that without encroaching on the other properties. At least in a temporary manner, getting, grading easements, taking out trees, things like that to actually construct a roadway through there. It's really just not feasible without encroaching on those properties. We would also probably be looking at a retaining wall between our property and at least the first property north of our site that remains, not the house we're talking taken down, but the next one up, again, just to make that grade up. And then as the drive approach as the alley, sort of bends in to meet that 15-foot spot, we wind up having to reconstruct the driveways for those homes as well. And they become very, very steep, in excess of 10% grade. So I've looked at this a lot of different ways. It's really hard to put this on paper because it just, it's a little abstract as far as the grade and how everything works out there. But, you know, it really, without encroaching on those properties and the property to the west, it is really challenging to construct any type of roadway through there. At a minimum, it would only be a 13-foot wide pavement section, so it, you know, it would certainly not be a two-way traffic by any means.
It went from 15 to 13 because.
15-foot right of way.
Mhm.
So if you read the City of Columbus alleyway standards, if you have a 15-foot right of way, which is the minimum right of way permissible for an alley, you have a 13-foot pavement section.
Thank you very much. I have lots of questions. Would anyone like to start? Okay. When the city says, the Department of Public Service says, after requesting specific geometric details on the site and the proposal that was reviewed for this condition, inadequate information was available for review. What are they, do you know what they're saying?
Truthfully, that statement stumped me a little bit because we had
That
our
was
site
two of
meeting.
us, yes.
We had our site meeting with
Right.
the city representatives. We all walked back there, sort of talked about Bank Street for a little while, and I thought everybody was pretty comfortable with the idea that it was really challenging to build a road back there. And then we focused on the access point from Front Street. And when I left the meeting, it was my understanding that the city was looking for greater detail on
I
our
wasn't at the meeting. I
on
can't
Front Street
speak to
access.
that. Do you?
I think it was both. I think it was on Bank Street and Front Street. That's my impression. I agree.
So, but the point is, the city's gone on record, public service has gone on record saying we don't have enough information to make a determination.
Yeah.
And we need that determination in order to override the, our historic district responsibilities. So can you please meet with the city and, public service and understand what
Sure.
is missing
Yes,
Oh,
and supply that to them? Because
would love to
we,
do it because I was a little surprised by that response, but when I got it an hour before deadline, it didn't have a whole lot of time to say.
yeah.
I have what I hope you will take as a constructive, piece of feedback, because I think you guys are trying to do the right thing. We are trying to work with you and make it work, but it feels to me as though we've been through a lot of cycles. It feels to me like we ask for something, sometimes we get part of it, sometimes we don't get it. It's always designed in it seems to be designed in the direction you guys want to go, as opposed to giving us the full facts of the case so that we can make educated decisions. So if I could encourage you to be as forthcoming as you can be across the full spectrum of decision options, that would be really helpful. Is that a fair
Yes.
statement of where we are?
Sure.
And, you know, we believe you guys are trying to do the right thing. We want to work with you. We just don't feel like we have sufficient information to make an effective decision.
Good.
Okay?
I think this exhibit that you provided is a PDF markup. It's not really a drawing that we can review. That would be my comment. So when you talk about turning radii, I know you guys have auto turn. Show it on there. Show us what we want to see so that we understand what you're talking about on the drawing. So what we're seeing here is, you know, not really an effective exhibit for
It
for
doesn't
me.
help us to be able to give the city and our district a decision based on our knowledge and education about the facts and the options.
Right, show contours, so we understand the effects of grading that you described. So we get it, and we show the impacts that go beyond the right of way. I understand what you're saying, because that's what I do all day, but I don't think everyone else does, so we need to see that on a drawing.
So,
We'll do our best.
do you have questions about that?
Well, no, I think the bigger question that I have deals with DPS.
Mhm.
What you're asking for, I think, are things that we have knowledge of and comply with, but we need to, again, get a better definition of what is an adequate amount of information for them to make a determination, short of drawings. I will say for the record, I have no interest in doing that. And then also, you know, part of our focus too, and this could be, we're reading something wrong, but I believe it was September when the meeting was rescheduled. Was that September? We didn't have a quorum. It was September. And I do know that the chair was not there, but you had the other commissioners present today were there. And Adam Trotter and I left that meeting with the impression that we were really wanting to focus on Front Street, and that everyone had some level of understanding of the difficulties of Bank Street. But I'm hearing what you've said, and also I can read tea leaves too, and I watched you read everything into the record. So
Right.
born at night, but not last night. So I'm going to comply with DPS.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I understand the direction.
Anybody have anything else they wish to ask or discuss? Okay. You guys have any questions for us? Yeah, we appreciate
We'll
it.
be back.
We
We'll be back.
appreciate seeing you again, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.
All right.
We need a motion to table.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that this will be tabled rather than continued because we don't know how long this is gonna take. So if you make the deadline,
To take it off the table, all they have to do is make the deadline.
which
right?
I think is tomorrow,
Oh,
you know, so
Well, there's no way
basically,
that
you
could
just
happen.
need to- when you have the information, send it to us with a new application, and then it will go back on the agenda.
Well, no, let's back up a second here. What I would ask is that, first off, in this process, one frustration that I've had is I can't manage DPS. To me, it feels a little weird that I'm being asked by one city body to manage another. You know, in business, that would be like me asking someone to manage my management group.
I don't think I'm asking you to manage GPS. I'm asking you to find out what in your application was insufficient for them to make a judgment.
No, I get that, but also in controlling their timeline, what I would ask for, if I have any latitude with appearing at the next meeting, if I were to get a response from them, say, within a week, I can't get it tomorrow. But I mean, we've hashed this, there's a lot of background. I don't want to treat this as starting from the beginning.
I would say still table it just because of the unknown. If you're able.
No, I'll table it, I just really would
Yeah.
prefer not to file a new application, and I would like some latitude, or at least giving me, a week from the deadline to get that submitted.
Yeah, well, I'll email you because I don't have a schedule and I'm not gonna be here anyway.
Connie's
So-
retiring in 2 weeks, so that's part of the
Yeah,
challenge. But we'll figure that out.
Just, I would say table it now.
Yeah.
and Just depends on when you keep in touch with
Okay.
BDC at columbus.gov as soon as you can. Staff will be looking at that and then they can make the decision.
Is there someone I should communicate with in the interim since you're leaving?
Just send it to BDC at columbus.gov and all of the HPO staff can look at that. We'll be looking at that daily.
Okay, but I've just asked for some latitude there. Again, it's not,
Hear you.
Yeah, we get it, we hear
I
that.
hear you.
okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
can I get a motion to table?
I'll motion on table.
Is there a second? Is there a discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. I think that was our only order of business. Or you got one more?
And then the public
Okay.
sometimes it's a big.
Okay.
So.
Want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so, we are doing the, are any of you familiar that with the fact that we're doing a zoning code rewrite? I think most of you are.
Yeah.
So,
We got the invitation.
okay, so we are going to all of the, we're going to the area commissions and now we're starting to go to the, design review, commissions and historic, commissions, just to give a brief overview,
Mhm.
provide some additional information. So we have this document, I'm just gonna read it. It's not my preferred presentation style, but just bear with me. We'll go over some things. If you have any questions, let me know. So essentially, we're doing our zoning code, and what we're trying to do is have a zoning code that can help create the conditions for smart, sustainable, equitable growth and unlock economic and development potentials in our neighborhoods. And we're trying to provide restaurant or residents a clearer idea of what can be built in their neighborhoods and can help developers avoid unnecessary time and costs when they invest. And then, of course, our zoning code cannot mandate development. This will take time to have that effect. So we've had a zoning code assessment. The Columbus zoning code, I'm sure as many of you know, has not been updated since the 1950s. It's a very old code, very suburban style setbacks and stuff all over the city. And so from 2020 to 2021, we conducted a comprehensive assessment of the current code. And the key findings that we found was that the standards are not tailored to local conditions. It does not prioritize future housing and transit need equitably. The code is not user-friendly. There's an over-reliance on site-by-site negotiated zoning actions. I mean, every month we have a high number of variances in zoning codes that have development happen. And there's a multi-layered and scattered decision-making process, and that creates uncertainty to the developers and investors in the city, and to the residents. So we had a community priority survey, and as part of that, we distributed a survey that asked people to identify what they wanted to see in an updated zoning code, and we received a little more than 3,000 responses. And the 10 priorities were identified. The top 3 were fostering walkable neighborhoods, encouraging conservation and natural resources, and supporting improved transit. It's all things that we would like to see. But we found that the priorities varied among different demographic groups. So for renters, it was affordable housing, improved transit, and promoting equity. Those were the top 3 from the first to the third. Under 35 years old, it was improved transit, conservation of natural resources, and accommodating a growing population. For African Americans, it was promoting equity, improving transit, and affordable housing. And for low income, the top one was affordable housing, promoting equity, and improving transit. So the survey, of course, is limited. We didn't hear from a representative sample, just 3,000 people. And it further emphasized the need for a robust community engagement to ensure that we hear from those that we normally don't hear from. 77% were homeowners, and only 17% were renters. And, you know, less than half of all Columbus households citywide, majority is renters. The racial diversity did not reflect the citywide population. And there was a lack of neighborhood representation, as you would kind of expect as well. 50% of all residents were concentrated in only 10 neighborhoods. So where we're going with all of this is we're starting the zoning code rewrite by focusing on the key corridors: Broad Street, High Street, Main Street, Morse Road, Sawmill and 161, kind of like the Continent area as well. And these places, they serve as the main streets of their communities. It's places where transit, housing, employment options, employment centers, and connected amenities can be focused. And by starting here, we can build more housing to help fight rising housing costs. We can create jobs closer to where people live. The things that we're going to be considering for these key corridors are mixed-use development opportunities, housing policies, parking policies, land use policies, development and building standards. So no decisions have been made yet on how the code will change. We're still in the information gathering stage. But the goal is to be responsive to emerging city policies and priorities, as well as current and projected population trends and needs. In addition to extensive community engagement, we are also in the process of forming an advisory committee made up of community leaders and industry professionals to help guide the updating process. We hope to get a pretty good representative group. We will be discussing drafting and refining the code for mixed-use districts and transit corridors now through 2023, and hope to have a final draft reviewed and adopted by spring of 2024. In summer 2024, we'll begin phase 3, which will go beyond the transit corridors into business centers and residential neighborhoods. So the next steps, we're going to be asking the community for input throughout the process on various components and strategies to help shape this tool for the community. And we'll be hosting many opportunities for learning, discussion, and feedback at community events, online, and in neighborhoods. One of the first events we will be hosting is an education exhibit called Undesign the Red Line, which Connie just talked about in partnership with the WYCA. She already described that, so I won't get into that. But we're going to be bringing the exhibit to 5 community locations between December and January. And so with that, I do have this handout here for you. You want to take a look at it? They're calling the policy Zone In Columbus. Sorry about that. And it says I have to say, please encourage your friends and neighbors to zone in on this effort and share their perspectives. So the more people we hear from, the better. And what we're trying to do is validate the priorities that were identified in the assessment phase survey. And we have a link on the handout to a short survey you can do on your phone, better help us understand the critical objectives and key focus areas. So that's it. Hopefully that wasn't too dry or too boring or too long, but let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them. Usually it's Kevin Wheeler, Tony Celebrezzi, and some other people doing this presentation, but
How are historic districts being considered?
the historic districts, I think, it's a good question. Some of the corridors, South High Street, of course, is going to be part of this. With any kind of rezoning, there will be engagement with this commission about the different phases of that. We're coming right now, as you can see, early in the process, trying to inform you that this is going on. And then as we come up with more ideas, we will be returning to get feedback and make presentation ideas. We
So-
don't have any idea yet on what the zoning code is going to be, but just like we said, it's going to be a major corridor.
Will there be a separate carve out for historic districts? Do you know?
I don't know that.
Will there be attention paid to the current urban commercial overlay?
So the whole zoning code is up for a rewrite at this point in time. So things like the commercial overlays and stuff, they may live on in some form or fashion. They may go away completely.
Are historic districts represented on the guiding or the steering committee?
That I don't know. I know they're still putting the committee together. I know there's going to be a pretty wide swath of individuals and representatives.
I guess I'd like to put in, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, a recommendation that there be historic district representation on that committee. Because that's something I didn't hear in your description, and I would like to personally next time request that if you're going to give us a 2 or 3 page document, that it'd be great to have it in advance,
Sure.
so we could actually read it. I'm one of those people that doesn't learn as much from here, listening as I do from reading,
Me either. Right.
so it'd be really helpful.
I got this yesterday.
Okay, so.
And we can, is there something that we can send them afterwards to follow up on?
Yeah, I mean, I can see if, let me ask and see if we're sharing this outline at this point in time.
Okay.
I don't know if we are or not.
I mean, it's helpful to have the website.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who has comments as usual?
Those are much more intelligent comments than I would ever dreamt
Yeah,
of.
I do have one small point. I think it'd be great if we can consider historic buildings in their original form rather than trying to overlay, new standards onto them. For example, parking has been an issue where the previous code mandates parking on site, but you're going through and having to do variances or demolish buildings to accommodate parking. So I think it's important that we consider historic buildings in their kind of original urban design context.
Totally agree.
Yep.
So we have strong opinions. We'll look forward to being part of the process.
Yeah, I can tell you, I mean, the historic review panels, the design review panels, the university review panels, and whatnot. Those aren't going to go away, it's my understanding, so we'll still have those. And we're trying to focus on the corridors because getting into the neighborhoods, obviously, is a lot more complicated, much more.
We're supportive. But we also have gone on record in the past saying that we're supportive of trying to optimize, I don't want to speak for anybody else but myself, trying to optimize the way the historic district commissions are designed and affected, their presence affected into the city's zoning process. Trying to look at best practices in other cities. We are open to having that conversation and being part of it. And again, have strong opinions.
Another small comment. So I think as are other city departments being engaged in this effort so that design issues that come to us are also being considered.
Right.
For example,
So they're not at odds. Or
the site triangle that we've had in 2 consecutive meetings now, that are
Right.
those sorts of issues being considered as part of this.
Yes.
It's totally reasonable for somebody to object to the fact that the city organizations don't seem to be coordinated in a way that are useful and helpful for them to move their agenda forward. So I'm sorry, I was a little more blunt.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yes.
Yeah, yes, I mean, the answer to that question is yes. The whole zoning code is being looked at, and
As well as the city's organizational model that supports the zoning code, I hope.
Yeah, the process.
Yeah, and like associated processes.
that I can't answer.
So the problem you got is you got experts on this commission that do many of these things, so. Or the opportunity, I guess.
That's why you're on commission.
Thank you, though.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Anybody else? Okay, move to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, man. Yeah. I'm gonna check with, Hubis and Jeff, and so
Okay.
they want to come to dinner, that'd be great. Yeah, and try to make it for them, which they're that Friday, so 17:32.
I'm open.
Okay, and you can't do it either day, Ryan? Okay, we'll miss you. But we'll hopefully do it again.
I'll be here.
Good. So Connie, I'll let you know, we got 3 people,
Okay.
on board. I'm gonna check with James.